In the heart of a bustling American city, Emily and Daniel seemed like the perfect couple, successful, in love, and admired by friends. But beneath the glossy smiles, Emily hides a secret that threatens to shatter their world. As Daniel begins noticing subtle betrayals, trust cracks, and his heart breaks piece by piece. Torn between love and deception, Daniel must confront a painful reality. The woman he vowed to spend his life with may not be who he thought. This story dives deep into love, betrayal, and heartbreak, unraveling the delicate threads of a marriage in turmoil. Daniel Carter woke up to the sound of rain pattering softly against the window of their penthouse apartment in downtown Chicago. The city lights shimmered like liquid gold through the glass, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. Emily, his wife of 7 years, was still asleep beside him, her chest rising and falling in slow, even breaths. He reached over to brush a strand of hair from her face, marveling at the life they had built together. A beautiful home, successful careers, and a marriage that friends envied. But as Daniel stared at her sleeping form, a faint unease gnawed at him, a tiny, unplaceable whisper in the back of his mind. He shook it off. After all, Emily was kind, intelligent, and devoted. Or so he thought. Their mornings usually began with a shared coffee on the balcony, overlooking Lake Michigan. But today, Emily was unusually distant, scrolling through her phone with a distracted intensity that made Daniel's stomach tighten. "Everything okay?" he asked gently, sitting beside her. Emily looked up, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just a bit tired. Long night at work." He nodded, sensing that her words were more of a shield than an explanation. But Daniel had a habit of giving people the benefit of the doubt, especially Emily. She had always been the heart of their home, the one who made everything brighter, yet something in her eyes today seemed different. Restless, almost guilty. At work, Daniel tried to shake off the unease. As a senior marketing executive at a prestigious firm, he was used to pressure, deadlines, and negotiations. But nothing could prepare him for the tension that had begun to infiltrate his personal life. He noticed the subtle changes: Emily's frequent late nights, the vague excuses, and the faint scent of perfume that wasn't his. By mid-afternoon, the gnawing suspicion had grown into a storm. He found himself replaying moments from the past few weeks: the mysterious phone calls she answered in another room, the sudden business trips she claimed were necessary, and the lingering looks at her phone when she thought he wasn't watching. That evening, Daniel returned home early, an idea forming in the pit of his stomach that made his hands shake. He needed answers, and his intuition was screaming that tonight would reveal the truth. Emily greeted him at the door with a tired smile, hugging him quickly. "You're home early," she said, her voice a little too bright. "Yeah, wanted to surprise you," he replied, forcing cheerfulness into his tone. But his eyes scanned her, searching for cracks, signs, anything that would confirm his fears. Dinner was silent, punctuated by polite conversation. Emily laughed at Daniel's jokes, but it felt hollow, rehearsed. The aroma of roasted chicken filled the apartment, but Daniel couldn't focus on the food. His mind was a battlefield of doubt and love. After dinner, Daniel pretended to leave for a call, but instead trailed Emily to the bedroom. He noticed the faint light of her phone screen slipping from under the pillow. His heart pounded, but he didn't hesitate. Carefully, he picked it up and unlocked it, the passcode known only to them. Emily had never bothered to hide it before. What he saw made his world tilt. Messages, hundreds of them, between Emily and a man he didn't recognize. The words were intimate, teasing, and unmistakably flirtatious. His chest tightened, and a cold sweat broke across his forehead. The betrayal was no longer a whisper. It was screaming in neon letters from the screen. His hands trembled as he read through the conversation, each message a knife twisting deeper into his heart. Emily had been lying, hiding this secret life from him for months. The love he believed in, the life they shared. It was all tainted. When Emily turned, startled by the sudden silence, Daniel held up the phone. "Emily, what is this?" His voice was barely a whisper, raw and broken. Her face paled. "Daniel, I can explain." But her words fell flat against the storm raging in his chest. Betrayal is deafening, and he couldn't hear anything but the echo of their shared vows shattering. "I trusted you," he said, each word heavy with hurt. "I trusted you with my heart, Emily, and you lied to me." Tears welled in her eyes, but Daniel felt none of the warmth that should have accompanied remorse, only anger, sorrow, and disbelief. "How long?" he asked, his voice cracking. She swallowed hard. "A few months." "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I never meant—" "Never meant to what?" he cut in, the tears now streaming down his own face. "To destroy the life we built? To ruin the man who loves you more than anything?" Emily tried to reach for his hand, but he pulled away. The physical barrier mirrored the emotional one that had grown insurmountable between them. That night, Daniel sat alone in the living room, the rain outside matching the storm in his heart. Memories of their life together, the laughter, the shared dreams, the small daily gestures of love flickered like fading photographs. How could someone he loved so deeply betray him so completely? Sleep didn't come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the messages, heard the whispered laughter that wasn't his, felt the betrayal in every fiber of his being. Daniel realized something devastating. The life he thought he had was an illusion. The love he cherished, the marriage he valued, it had been a fragile facade all along. As dawn approached, Daniel made a decision. He needed space, clarity, and most importantly, answers that Emily couldn't avoid. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The path ahead would be painful, and nothing, no apologies, no tears, could erase the hurt she had caused. The first cracks had appeared in the perfect life he and Emily had built, and as he stared out at the Chicago skyline, Daniel understood that rebuilding trust, if it were even possible, would be the hardest battle of all. The morning sun filtered weakly through the blinds, casting thin stripes of light across the living room where Daniel sat on the edge of the couch. His eyes were red, tired, and hollow from a night spent wrestling with the betrayal he had uncovered. He hadn't slept a wink. Every time he closed his eyes, Emily's laughter with another man echoed in his mind, twisting like a knife. Emily hadn't come out of the bedroom yet. Daniel wasn't sure if he wanted her to. Part of him craved answers, closure, or even the chance to scream at her, to shake her and demand the truth. Another part of him wanted to hide, to pretend this nightmare wasn't real. But reality had a way of catching up no matter how tightly you shut your eyes. Finally, Emily stepped out, wrapped in a robe, her hair messy from sleep. She paused when she saw him, the expression on her face a mix of fear, guilt, and sadness. "Daniel," she began, her voice barely audible. He looked at her, eyes burning with anguish. "Don't Daniel me," he said, his voice low but sharp. "I saw everything last night. All the messages, all the lies. Don't even start with excuses." Emily flinched, and Daniel saw tears well up in her eyes. But this time, he didn't look away. This confrontation wasn't about him. It was about facing the truth no matter how painful. I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, barely able to meet his gaze. Daniel laughed bitterly, a hollow sound that shook the room. "Didn't mean for it to happen? Emily, do you know what that means to me? Do you understand how it feels to trust someone with your whole heart only to have it crushed?" Her lips trembled. "I know I hurt you. I can't even explain why. I felt lost and I made a mistake. I was stupid." "Stupid?" Daniel's voice rose, trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "Stupid? Emily, you were my wife. You were supposed to be my partner, my best friend. And all the while you were—" His voice broke. "Living a lie." She stepped closer, desperate to reach him. Daniel, please. I love you. I never stopped loving you. I don't even know why I got confused. It meant nothing. Daniel pulled back, shaking his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. It meant nothing? Do you hear yourself? It meant everything. To him, maybe. But to me, it's my life, Emily. Our life. And you threw it away. Emily's eyes filled with anguish. I know I did, and I'll spend every day trying to make it right. I swear to you, Daniel, I'll do anything to fix this. Please, don't leave me. Daniel's heart twisted painfully. Part of him wanted to forgive her, to hold her and tell her it would be okay, that they could move past this together. But another part of him, the part that had been shattered last night, whispered that some things could never be undone. Trust, once broken, is a fragile thing. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I need time, Emily. Time to think, time to figure out if I can ever look at you the same way again. Her shoulders slumped. Time, I understand. I'll give you all the time you need. Just don't shut me out completely. Daniel nodded, though it felt hollow even to him. He walked past her and left the room, and felt the apartment, the life they had built, crush him with its emptiness. Over the next few days, Daniel retreated into himself. He went to work, but even the familiar rhythm of marketing campaigns and client meetings couldn't distract him from the images that haunted him. Every smile Emily gave him now seemed tainted, every word she spoke laced with potential deceit. The very foundation of his life had been shaken, and he didn't know if it could be repaired. Meanwhile, Emily tried to reach out, leaving notes, sending texts, and attempting to talk, but Daniel remained distant, guarded. Each attempt reminded him of the betrayal, each apology a painful echo of his shattered trust. One evening, Daniel returned home earlier than usual. Emily was in the kitchen, cooking dinner, but her movements were hesitant, almost apologetic. She glanced up when he entered. "Dinner's almost ready," she said, softly. He nodded, but didn't respond. The silence between them was suffocating. Finally, she spoke again. "Daniel, can we talk?" He didn't look at her, continuing to the living room. "If this is another apology, Emily, I don't know if I can listen." "It's not. I need you to know, I don't want anyone else. I made a mistake, but my heart has always been yours. Please believe me." Daniel turned to face her, his expression torn. "I want to believe you, Emily. I really do. But how can I? How can I believe someone who lied to me day after day, hiding messages, hiding a part of their life from me?" Tears streamed down her face. I don't know. All I can do is show you that I'm committed, that I love you. I'll do whatever it takes, Daniel. I promise." He looked at her, the woman he had loved for years, and felt a strange mix of anger, sorrow, and longing. He wanted to hate her. He wanted to run, but deep inside, he still loved her, still remembered the laughter, the warmth, the moments that made their marriage feel unbreakable. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," he said, finally, his voice raw. "But I can't deny that part of me wants to try. Part of me still loves you." She reached out, her hand trembling. "That's all I ask. A chance. Just a chance to prove myself." Daniel nodded, not trusting himself to speak further. They stood in silence, the distance between them still palpable, but slightly bridged by the fragile hope of reconciliation. That night, Daniel lay awake thinking about everything, about love, betrayal, and the painful journey ahead. Forgiveness wasn't guaranteed, trust wasn't automatic, and healing wouldn't come overnight. But for the first time since discovering the truth, he allowed himself a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, love could survive even the deepest wounds. And Emily, curled up in the bedroom, whispered a silent prayer to the universe, begging for the chance to mend what she had broken. The morning light was muted, filtered through a haze of clouds over the Chicago skyline. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the cup of coffee in front of him. It had grown cold, untouched, as his mind replayed the confrontation from the night before. Emily had apologized, begged for forgiveness, promised she would make things right, but Daniel couldn't forget. Not yet. He remembered every detail of the messages he had seen, every laugh, every intimate word, every hint of a secret life that he hadn't known existed. His stomach twisted as he thought about the man on the other end of those texts. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And most importantly, why? Emily entered the kitchen, her movements slow, tentative. She wore one of Daniel's old shirts, a habit she'd adopted during late nights when she came home exhausted from work. Her hair was pulled into a messy ponytail, and her eyes were rimmed with red from sleepless nights, from crying, from guilt. "Morning," she said softly, almost afraid he wouldn't respond. Daniel's eyes flicked at her, guarded. "Morning," he muttered, still staring into his coffee. She sat down across from him, her hands wrapped around a mug. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was heavy, a quiet reminder of the rift that had grown between them. Finally, Emily broke the silence. "Daniel, I want to tell you everything. You deserve to know why I did what I did." He didn't look up. "I'm listening," he said flatly, though his voice carried a tremor of pain. She took a deep breath, as if drawing courage from somewhere deep inside. "It started months ago, around the time my father got sick. I was, I don't know, lost. I felt overwhelmed with work, with life, with myself. And then I met him. He wasn't someone I planned to, I don't know, fall into, but he listened. He understood me in ways I thought only you did. And somewhere along the way, I made a terrible mistake." Daniel's jaw tightened. "So it was about comfort, about needing someone to lean on." His voice was bitter, sharp. "Yes," she admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks, "but it never meant anything compared to what we have. I still love you, Daniel. I still always have. I don't expect you to forgive me, not yet. I just needed you to understand why I failed." He closed his eyes, pressing his palms against his face. The man she had mentioned, a stranger who had stepped into the cracks of their marriage, felt like a phantom haunting him. The betrayal was no longer just about actions, it was about emotions, desires, and a fracture that had begun long before the messages appeared. "You were my life, Emily, and somehow I wasn't enough. Somehow you needed him." She reached out, her hand hovering above his, trembling. "It wasn't about you not being enough. You've always been enough. I failed myself. I failed us. I let my fears and insecurities make me do something I'll regret forever. Please, Daniel, I need you to believe that it wasn't about not loving you." He pulled back, the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "And yet it happened, despite of us, despite everything we built, despite me." Emily sobbed quietly, covering her face. "I know, and I hate myself for it. I hate that I hurt you, that I betrayed our marriage. I would give anything to take it back, to erase the pain I caused you." He watched her, torn between his love and his hurt. Every fiber of his being ached for the woman he had loved for so long, but every fiber also screamed in pain at the betrayal. He realized that forgiveness, if it came, wouldn't be easy or fast. Trust, once broken, was like shattered glass. You could try to piece it back together, but the cracks would always remain. Days turned into a week. Daniel and Emily went through the motions of life, work, dinners, conversations, but the air between them was thick with unspoken words. Every glance, every laugh, every touch was loaded with suspicion and fear. Daniel wanted to reach out, to reclaim the love they once shared, but he didn't know how. Every time he tried, memories of the betrayal surged forward, threatening to undo any fragile progress. Emily, meanwhile, tried desperately to prove herself. She left small notes for him, made his favorite meals, and attempted to engage him in conversation. But Daniel's heart remained guarded, a fortress built on pain. One evening, Daniel stayed late at the office, unable to face the apartment. He wandered the quiet halls, the fluorescent lights buzzing above, thinking about their life together. He remembered the day they bought the penthouse, the day they said, "I do," and countless nights they spent laughing, dreaming, and planning a future. All of it felt like a lifetime ago, a world away from the betrayal that now defined their relationship. When he finally returned home, he found Emily sitting on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. She didn't look at him, didn't speak. The silence was both comforting and heartbreaking. "Daniel," she said softly, not turning around. "Hey." They watched the city together, the lights reflecting on the water below. No words were spoken, but in that quiet, Daniel felt a flicker of the love that had once burned so brightly between them, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back. Do you even know who I am anymore?" he asked finally, voice low. Emily turned to him, eyes glistening with tears. "I do. I'm the woman who loves you more than anything. The one who made a terrible mistake and is willing to do whatever it takes to make it right." Daniel looked at her, searching for the truth in her eyes. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to reach out, to hold her and tell her it would be okay, but a part of him remained broken, a part of him unsure if love could survive such betrayal. For the first time in days, Emily smiled through her tears. "We can't undo the past, Daniel, but maybe we can try to build something stronger from it, if you let me." He nodded slowly, unsure if his heart was ready, unsure if forgiveness was even possible. But he allowed a small spark of hope to ignite, a hope that love, even fractured and wounded, could still endure. And as the night settled over Chicago, they sat together in silence, two souls battered by betrayal, yet still connected by the fragile threads of a shared past. The journey ahead would be long, painful, and uncertain, but for the first time since the storm began, Daniel felt a glimmer of possibility, a chance that they could navigate the shadows of their past and find their way back to each other. The first week of tentative reconciliation had passed. Daniel and Emily were walking on eggshells, each trying to navigate the fragile space between heartbreak and hope. But just as the past begins to feel like it could be left behind, reality has a way of barging in. Daniel was at the office, buried in reports and marketing strategies, when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Curious, he opened it, only to find a single message. "Emily misses me. She still loves me. You don't know her like I do." Daniel's stomach dropped. Rage, fear, and betrayal collided in his chest. His hands shook as he stared at the screen, his heartbeat echoing in his ears. The fragile peace he'd been trying to maintain shattered in an instant. Emily had never mentioned this man's name to him. She'd confessed her betrayal, admitted her mistakes, but the shadows of the past were now reaching into the present. He realized then that forgiveness, if it were even possible, would never come easily. Trust, once broken, had a stubborn way of resurfacing. When he got home that evening, he found Emily in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. The apartment smelled like rosemary and garlic, a small attempt to bring normalcy back into their lives. "Emily," he said, voice tight, holding up his phone. "We need to talk." Her eyes widened. "Daniel? What is it?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he showed her the message. Her face went pale, and she dropped the knife she was holding. I didn't send that. She stammered, her voice shaking. It's not him. Someone is, I don't know, harassing me, Daniel? I swear I'm not in contact with him anymore. I cut everything off. His jaw tightened. You expect me to believe that? After everything? I don't expect anything, she whispered, tears filling her eyes. I need you to trust me. I've already ruined enough. I won't let him come between us again. Daniel wanted to scream, to demand proof, to punish her for the past, but the sincerity in her eyes gave him pause. For a moment, he saw the woman he loved, the same woman who had once made him laugh, who had shared his dreams, who had held his hand through the worst of times. Could he trust her? Could he let go of the pain and fear that had been gnawing at him since the betrayal? He shook his head. I don't know if I can, Emily. I want to believe you, I do, but this changes everything. The following days were a tense dance of suspicion and attempts at normalcy. Daniel found himself checking Emily's phone, watching her reactions, questioning every word. Emily, on her part, tried to maintain patience, understanding that rebuilding trust wasn't instantaneous. She knew she had crossed a line that could never fully be erased, but she refused to give up on them. One afternoon, Daniel's friend Mark called him at work. Hey man, I don't know if you've seen this, but someone posted something online about Emily. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? There's a picture taken months ago of her with another man. People are commenting and it's starting to spread. It's ugly, Daniel. I thought you should know. His chest tightened. He felt like the floor had dropped beneath him. Emily, betrayal, public humiliation, everything he had been trying to process was now being thrust into the glaring light of social media. When he confronted Emily that evening, her face was pale, eyes wide with worry. Daniel, I didn't post that. I swear, someone must have found old pictures or, I don't know, tried to sabotage us. Daniel's voice shook with anger. Sabotage us? Emily, I'm tired of excuses. I'm tired of lies. I don't know what's real anymore. Tears streamed down her face. It is real, Daniel. I'm here. I'm not with him, and I'm trying to make this right. Please, don't let this destroy us. He wanted to believe her. Part of him desperately wanted to. But every fiber of his being was on edge. Trust was a fragile glass, and someone or something was testing it relentlessly. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He went to the balcony, staring out at the city below, lights reflecting on the water like shards of broken dreams. He remembered the laughter, the love, the promises. And he remembered the betrayal. Every memory tangled together, leaving him with a raw, aching emptiness. Emily came out after a while, her hand lightly brushing his. I'm still here, she whispered. I'm not leaving. Not now. Not ever. He didn't respond immediately. The hurt was too deep. The fear was too strong. But her touch, the warmth of her hand against his, reminded him that love wasn't just about perfection, it was about fighting through the pain together. For the next week, they navigated the storm as best they could. Emily remained patient, Daniel remained cautious. The shadow of the other man lingered, a reminder that healing would take time. But for the first time, Daniel allowed himself to imagine a future where they could survive the betrayal, where love could triumph over heartbreak. One evening, as they sat together in silence, Emily broke it with a small, tentative smile. Do you remember the first time we came to this balcony? Daniel nodded faintly. Yeah. You made me promise we'd watch the sunrise together every weekend. She laughed softly. And we did. Most weekends. He smiled, a small, fragile thing, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Yeah, most weekends. They sat in silence after that, hands intertwined, a tentative peace settling between them. The battle wasn't over, trust hadn't fully returned, but for now, they were together, fighting for the life they had built, for the love that still lingered despite the pain. And as the city slept below, Daniel realized something. Betrayal could break a heart, but love could give it a chance to heal. Slowly, painfully, but it could heal. Daniel's phone buzzed incessantly that morning. Work deadlines, emails, calls, but one notification stood out. A message from an unknown number with a simple, chilling line. "I'm not done with Emily. Neither are you." Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. Rage flared alongside a sickening fear. Who was sending these messages? The anonymous threat felt like a ghost from the past, one he had been trying desperately to bury. Emily appeared at the door, her face pale. "Daniel, what's wrong?" He didn't answer immediately, just held up his phone. Her eyes widened as she read the message. Tears brimmed. "It's him. He's trying to make this impossible. I didn't answer him. I haven't seen him. I swear." Daniel's fists clenched. "I don't care what you've done or haven't done. I'm done with shadows and secrets. He's going to pay for threatening us." Emily shook her head quickly. "Daniel, please, violence isn't the answer. Let me handle this. I can call the police, block him. He can't reach me." But Daniel was already moving. He had to see this man, had to confront him, to understand who had dared to manipulate their lives. Emily tried to stop him, but he was resolute. That evening, Daniel tracked the number, tracing its location to a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. Heart pounding, he parked his car and approached the building. The rain had returned, drizzling lightly, mirroring the storm in his chest. The door opened to reveal a man in his early 30s, tall, well-groomed, with a smug smile that made Daniel's blood boil. "Daniel Carter," the man said smoothly. "I've been expecting you." "Who are you?" Daniel demanded, stepping forward. "What do you want from Emily?" The man's smile didn't waver. "Her? Nothing. She was a distraction. But it seems you've got your hands full with her now. Lucky you." Daniel's teeth clenched. "You're harassing her, sending messages, threatening us. You have no idea who you're messing with." "Oh, I think I do," the man replied, leaning casually against the wall. "She had fun with me, but she came back to you. That's cute. But she's fragile. And you don't know how close she was to falling for me completely." Daniel's vision blurred with rage. "Get out of my life, stay away from her, or I swear—" The man laughed lightly. "Or what? You'll cry some more? She's yours now, mostly. But she's a human, Daniel. Humans make mistakes." Daniel's restraint snapped. He lunged forward, fists ready, but the man sidestepped with ease, his smug grin infuriating Daniel further. "You think hitting me will fix her? That will fix anything?" Breathing heavily, Daniel stepped back, gripping his fists. I'll protect her. I'll protect our life. You're not going to ruin what we have." The man's expression softened slightly, almost mocking. "Protect her? Or yourself? Love isn't always neat, Daniel. Sometimes it's messy, and sometimes people leave scars." Daniel realized then that this confrontation wasn't just about physical threats. It was about trust, control, and the past that refused to stay buried. Every word, every sneer, every taunt reminded him of the betrayal that had already broken his heart. "I'll deal with you," Daniel said finally, voice trembling with controlled anger. "But don't mistake my restraint for weakness." The man laughed one last time and walked away, leaving Daniel standing in the rain, his fists still clenched, chest heaving. He felt the cold seep into his bones, not from the rain, but from the realization that the world was still testing him, still challenging his ability to forgive, to trust, to love. When Daniel returned home, Emily was waiting anxiously. She rushed to him, wrapping her arms around his wet coat. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice trembling. I'm managing, though I felt far from okay. He's gone for now. But Emily, we can't let this continue. Him, it's not just about us. It's about protecting ourselves." She nodded. "I know. I'll do whatever it takes. I swear. No more secrets, no more mistakes. I won't let him control us." Daniel looked at her, and for a moment, the love that had been buried under betrayal, suspicion, and fear flickered back to life. It was fragile, tentative, but it was there. He realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about facing storms together, surviving battles, and still choosing each other despite the scars. In the following days, Emily took action. She blocked the man's number, changed her accounts, and reported the harassment. Daniel, though still guarded, began to let small acts of trust return, allowing her to share her day, to laugh, to be close. But every evening, as he watched the city lights from their balcony, Daniel knew the battle wasn't over. Shadows from the past could resurface at any moment. Trust, once broken, required constant effort to rebuild, and the scars of betrayal, though fading, would never fully disappear. One night, as they sat together in silence, Emily took Daniel's hand. "I know it's hard. I know I've hurt you more than anyone should, but I need you to remember, I'm here. I'm yours, always." Daniel squeezed her hand gently, tears brimming. "I know, and I want to believe that. I want to try." The rain pattered softly against the windows, a quiet rhythm against the chaos of their lives. In that moment, two souls battered by betrayal, fear, and doubt clung to each other, finding a fragile peace amidst the storm. The journey ahead would be long, filled with challenges, emotional battles, and tests of loyalty. But for the first time in months, Daniel allowed himself a tentative hope. Maybe love could survive even the deepest scars. And as they sat together, holding hands, Daniel realized something essential. Betrayal could break a heart, threats could challenge it, but true love, if nurtured, could endure. Slowly, painfully, yet undeniably. The weeks following the confrontation with the other man were tense. Daniel and Emily were walking a tightrope between hope and fear. The external threat had temporarily vanished, but the internal wounds, the betrayal, the doubt, the lingering resentment, remained raw and painful. Every glance, every conversation carried a weight that neither could ignore. Daniel woke that morning with a heaviness in his chest. It wasn't the rain or the chill in the Chicago air. It was the unrelenting ache of a heart struggling to forgive. He stared at the ceiling, remembering the messages, the lies, the secret life Emily had hidden from him. He loved her still, desperately, achingly, but he couldn't escape the shadow that betrayal had cast over their life. Emily, sensing his distance, approached him cautiously, placing a hand on his arm. "Daniel, talk to me, please. I can't fix this if you don't let me in." He turned to her, eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I don't know if I can, Emily. I want to. I want to forgive you, but it hurts so much. Every time I see you, every time I hear your voice, I remember, and it kills me." She swallowed hard, her own tears threatening to fall. "I know, and I don't blame you. I deserve this. I deserve everything. But I'm asking, just let me try to prove to you that I'm still the woman you married, that I still love you." Daniel looked away, his hands trembling. "Trying, that's the hardest part. I don't know if love alone is enough to heal this." Days passed, and the tension between them mounted. They attempted normalcy, but arguments erupted over small things. Emily's phone, a casual smile from a coworker, a misplaced word. Daniel's trust was fragile, like a thin glass teetering on the edge of a table. And Emily's guilt, while genuine, often translated into defensiveness, intensifying the strain. One evening, after another tense argument over a trivial misunderstanding, Emily broke down completely. "Daniel, please, I can't do this alone. I'm trying, but you keep pushing me away. I love you. I've never stopped loving you." Daniel, his own emotions raw and unfiltered, sank to his knees, burying his face in his hands. I know you love me, but love isn't enough when trust is gone. I don't even know if I can look at you the same way ever again." Emily knelt beside him, trembling. "I'll do anything to earn it back, anything to make this right. Please, don't give up on us." He looked up at her, the pain in his eyes mirrored by hers. For a long moment, neither spoke. The weight of their history, their love, and their mistakes hung in the air like an oppressive storm. Then, slowly, Emily reached for him, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. "I'll wait. I'll fight for us. I'll endure whatever it takes." Daniel let her hold him, feeling the warmth and sincerity of her embrace. He didn't forgive her entirely, not yet, but in that moment, he allowed a sliver of hope to pierce the darkness. That night, Daniel lay awake, thoughts racing. He replayed memories of happier times, laughing at small jokes, late-night drives, quiet mornings on the balcony. Those memories felt like lifelines, tethering him to the love he had once known, and he realized that while betrayal had scarred them, love had the power to heal if they both fought for it. The next morning, Emily prepared breakfast, hoping to create a semblance of normalcy. Daniel joined her at the table, silent but present. They ate together, sharing small smiles, tentative gestures of connection. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, a fragile step toward rebuilding what had been broken. Later, as they sat on the balcony, Daniel turned to Emily. "I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I can ever trust fully again, but I still love you, and I want to try. That's all I can promise right now." Emily reached for his hand, gripping it tightly. "That's enough for me. That's all I need. I'll take it one day at a time. With you." For the first time in months, a sense of fragile peace settled over them. The storm of betrayal, doubt, and external threats hadn't passed entirely, but for a fleeting moment, they found solace in each other's presence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the city, Daniel and Emily sat together, hands intertwined, hearts cautiously beating in sync. They knew the journey ahead would be long, filled with challenges, tears, and tests of faith. But for the first time, they allowed themselves to believe that love, even fractured and wounded, could endure. And in that quiet, tender moment, Daniel whispered softly, more to himself than to her, "We'll survive this, somehow. We'll find our way back." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder, tears of relief and lingering guilt mingling with a tentative smile. "Yes, together." The night deepened, city lights twinkling like distant stars, and though shadows of the past lingered, Daniel and Emily clung to each other, finding a fragile strength in their shared pain, a glimmer of hope that love, though tested, could rise again from the ruins of betrayal. The mornings had begun to feel slightly lighter. Chicago's skyline, once a reminder of fractured dreams, now glimmered with the faint promise of renewal. Daniel and Emily were not fixed. Nothing so monumental could happen overnight, but the fragile thread of connection that had been almost severed was slowly being rewoven. Emily had taken active steps to rebuild trust. She had been transparent about her interactions, even inviting Daniel to check her messages or emails whenever he wanted. She willingly shared her daily routines and allowed him to participate in her world again. Every small act, every gesture, was a testament to her desire to prove her love. Daniel, for his part, struggled. He wanted to forgive her fully, but the betrayal still echoed in his mind. Every smile, every word carried the potential to reopen old wounds. Yet he noticed a change within himself, a subtle shift toward understanding. Forgiveness, he realized, was not about forgetting, but about choosing to move forward despite the scars. One evening, Emily suggested a walk along the lakeshore. The autumn air was crisp, tinged with the scent of fallen leaves and distant rain. They walked side by side in silence at first, hands almost touching, but not quite, the tension of months pass lingering in the space between them. Finally, Emily spoke. "Daniel, I know it's hard. I know trust doesn't come back overnight, but I want you to know I'm here, I'm committed, and I will do whatever it takes to earn your trust back, day by day." Daniel nodded, his hands still buried in his coat pockets. "I know, and I see it. You've changed. Not that you weren't always wonderful, but I can see that you're fighting for us now." She glanced at him, eyes glistening. "It's because I love you. I've made terrible mistakes, but I can't imagine a life without you. I never want to feel that emptiness again." Daniel stopped walking and looked out over the water. The lake stretched endlessly before them, reflecting the amber glow of streetlights. "Emily, love isn't always enough, you know that. It's trust, it's patience, it's understanding, it's 1,000 things I didn't think we'd have to rebuild. But maybe we can." Emily stepped closer, brushing her hand against his. "We can. Slowly, but we can." The weeks passed, and the couple continued their cautious journey toward healing. They spent evenings sharing memories, both painful and joyful, allowing honesty to replace secrecy. Laughter began to return, tentative at first, but gradually more genuine. The walls between them started to crumble, brick by brick, as they rebuilt their connection on honesty and vulnerability. One night, as Daniel returned home late from work, he found Emily waiting with a small box. "What's this?" he asked, curiosity piqued. Emily smiled, nervous but hopeful. "Open it." Inside was a simple bracelet, a delicate chain with a single charm shaped like a heart. "I want you to have this," she said softly. "A reminder that even when things break, love can hold us together, that we can rebuild, that we're stronger than before." Daniel felt tears prick his eyes. The gesture was small, but it spoke volumes. It wasn't about grand declarations or dramatic apologies. It was about sincerity, persistence, and the quiet courage to repair what was broken. He took her hand in his, holding the bracelet gently. "It's beautiful, just like maybe us someday?" Emily nodded, squeezing his hand. "Someday starts now." Days turned into weeks, and slowly Daniel felt a shift within himself. The memories of betrayal, while still painful, began to lose their power over his heart. He realized that Emily's remorse was genuine, her commitment unwavering, and that their love, though tested, was resilient. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sun set over the lake, Emily leaned against Daniel's shoulder. "Do you remember our first year together?" she asked, voice soft. Daniel smiled faintly, the memory a warm balm. "Yeah, we stayed up all night, talking, planning, dreaming, thinking nothing could ever go wrong." She chuckled. "Life proved us wrong, didn't it?" He took a deep breath. "It did. But it also taught us what matters. That love isn't just about perfection. It's about fighting for each other, even when it's hard, even when it hurts." Emily rested her head on his shoulder, content in the quiet, the shared warmth. "And we're fighting. Together." Daniel kissed the top of her head, a promise, a reassurance, a silent vow to himself and to her. "Together," he repeated. The journey ahead was far from over. Challenges would arise. Trust would need constant nurturing, and the scars of betrayal would never fully disappear. But Daniel and Emily had survived the storm, confronted their deepest fears, and chosen to face life side by side. And in that quiet moment, as the city lights reflected on the water, they allowed themselves to hope. Hope that love, though fragile and wounded, could endure. That hearts, once broken, could learn to beat together again. They knew the future wouldn't be perfect, but it would be theirs, built from honesty, resilience, and the unwavering belief that love, even after the deepest betrayal, was worth fighting for. For the first time in months, Daniel felt a sense of peace. Not complete, not absolute, but real, tangible, and alive. And as he held Emily's hand tightly, he realized that they had begun the long, difficult journey of rebuilding not just their marriage, but the foundation of trust and love that would carry them forward together. The city was quiet that morning, the kind of serene calm that felt almost unreal after months of turmoil. Daniel sat at the edge of the balcony, staring at the skyline. The lake stretched before him, reflecting the soft glow of sunrise. For the first time in a long while, he felt a fragile sense of hope. Emily approached quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Morning," she said softly, placing 1 cup beside him. Daniel glanced at her, a small, genuine smile tugging at his lips. "Morning." She sat down beside him, their shoulders brushing lightly. Neither spoke for a moment, letting the gentle silence settle between them. It wasn't perfect, nothing was, but it was real, and that was enough for now. "I've been thinking," Emily began, her voice tentative but determined, "about everything. The betrayal, the lies, the pain, and about us." Daniel took a deep breath. "Yeah? I know it will never be erased. What I did, the choices I made, they hurt you, and they hurt us. But I want to spend every day trying to make it right, to prove to you that my love is true, that I'm still the person you married." Daniel's chest ached at her words. He had spent countless nights wrestling with the memory of the messages, the secret life, the fear and heartbreak. But hearing her say this, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, it stirred something deep within him. I believe you," he said finally. "I've wanted to forgive you for months, and part of me, I think I've been ready, if not scared. Scared that letting go would mean losing a part of myself, or that love isn't enough after everything we've been through." Emily reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. "Love is enough, Daniel. It's not perfect, but it's worth it. And we're worth it. Together." He looked at her, tears welling in his eyes. The pain of betrayal hadn't vanished, but it no longer held him hostage. Instead, it had transformed into a reminder of how resilient love could be, how deep forgiveness could reach when both hearts were willing. Daniel leaned forward, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You've shown me patience, honesty, and unwavering love. I can see it now, Emily, and I want to try. Fully. No more hesitation, no more walls. Just us." Emily smiled through her tears. Just us. The day stretched into evening, and they spent it quietly together, talking, laughing, sharing memories both painful and joyful. They went for a walk along the lake, the crisp autumn air carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of renewal. With every step, Daniel felt the weight of betrayal lift slightly, replaced by the warmth of connection and understanding. As night fell, the city lights reflected off the water, casting a golden glow over the couple. Emily leaned against Daniel, resting her head on his shoulder. "Do you remember the first time we watched the sunset here?" she asked softly. Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah, we thought the world was endless, that nothing could ever go wrong." She chuckled. "And it did, but we made it through, together." Daniel pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Together," he echoed. The word carried a weight of promise, forgiveness, and hope, a vow to face the future side by side, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The following weeks continued in a delicate rhythm of healing. They shared responsibilities, communicated openly, and nurtured the love that had been tested but not destroyed. Daniel noticed the small gestures, the way Emily left him notes, the way she listened attentively, the way she made him laugh again. Each act was a brick in the foundation of trust they were rebuilding. One evening, as they cooked dinner together, Daniel stopped and looked at Emily, taking her hands in his. "Emily, I want you to know something. No matter what happened, no matter the mistakes, I still love you. I chose you then, I choose you now, and I'll choose you every day." Emily's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling with emotion. "Daniel, I love you too, and I'll spend every day proving it, showing it, living it." They embraced, a long, unbroken hug that carried the weight of months of pain, fear, and doubt. In that embrace, the world outside, the betrayal, the threats, the heartbreak, faded, leaving only the truth of their love. Time passed, and their life began to regain a sense of normalcy. The scars of the past remained, subtle reminders of lessons learned and the resilience of the human heart. But the love between Daniel and Emily had transformed. It was no longer naive or fragile. It was tested, tempered, and strengthened by adversity. One night, as they sat together on the balcony, Daniel whispered, "We've come so far, from the dark days to this. I never thought we'd make it. But here we are, stronger than before." Emily rested her head on his chest, stronger and wiser. "And I'll never take this for granted. Never." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "Neither will I. Us, it's everything." They sat in silence, listening to the distant hum of the city, the gentle lapping of the lake, and the quiet rhythm of two hearts beating together. The journey had been painful, the trials immense, but they had survived. They had forgiven, healed, and chosen love once more. And in that quiet, golden moment, Daniel and Emily understood a profound truth. Betrayal could wound, fear could test, and time could challenge. But love, real, committed, enduring love, could rise from the ashes, stronger, more resilient, and infinitely more beautiful than before. Hand in hand, heart in heart, they faced the future together, ready to write the next chapter of their lives, not defined by mistakes or pain, but the unwavering strength of their love and the courage to choose each other every day. For Daniel and Emily, the storm had passed, and though scars remained, so did hope, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond of two souls who had survived the darkest nights to find the light of love once again.